Blessings and welcome. Good morning, everyone in YouTube land. I am Tuesday May Thomas. This is 4D Trinity. We're going to get started over here in Instagram land. Oh, what a beautiful, blessed day. Blessings and welcome, everyone. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and this is my weekly live stream, 4D Trinity. And before we get started, I want to make sure you remember that we have a full moon guided meditation, Meet Your Higher Self, Monday, April 26th. Full moon over here in the States, even though I think it doesn't go full until the evening of the 26th, so it's 26th, 27th. But 5:30 p.m., Bija chakra chanting with myself and my beloved friend for life and beyond, Will Harrell. We'll be chanting the Bija mantras to calibrate those chakras at 5:30 to 6, and then from 6 p.m. until 7, we'll be going in. Everyone is invited. It's going to be live on Instagram. So if you're on YouTube, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I'll put the links down below later, or you can just look me up. I'm Tuesday May Thomas. It's my full name. So we'll be going live, and that'll be by donation on Monday evening, California time. 5:30 will be the chakra chanting, and 6 p.m. to 7 will be the guided meditation where you will meet your higher self. And this is so important and integral to what we're going to be talking about today. So thank you for joining me if you're hopping on. And what we're talking about today is all your colors turned on. Whew, what does this mean? This means this means a lot. This means a lot of integration and alignment with that divine voice for God, with your higher self. This means you coming to terms with the dark side within, the light aspect of each color as they resonate through your chakra system. Okay, so we have these aspects of dark and light at play on all levels in our system. And when we think about the chakra system specifically, we think about this bridge, this rainbow bridge that is ultimately leading us, right, to heaven on earth realization, and understanding that as we clear and heal and know thyself divine through the initiation of healing those grievances and those aspects within the chakra, right, within those portals, as we heal those aspects, that's when the light of truth can then pierce through the veil of both dark and light that we perceive here in the grid matrix, and increase and amplify our ability to see through any veils of untruth as they rely on us, as they reside within us. Yeah, they rely on us. Our truths rely on us, right? But ultimately, the truth relies on no one. The truth is the truth. And ultimately, that is for each of us to explore and define for ourselves. But there are some key truths, right, that I preach on and that maybe are resonant for you. And those being the aspect of love being the truth. And ultimately, knowing thyself is the practice of learning how to love yourself, the dark and the light. And so all your colors turned on speaks to that aspect of where you have met your darkness and you've met your light and you've integrated them both. It's about integrating, right, the light, not just knowing who you are as a good person and how you might or could or should respond in certain situations, but being and embodying that. And while you're embodying that, knowing what your dark side affiliation with that response might have been, could have been, would have been in the past. And there's this continual journey of impeccability, of being able to see ourselves as our higher self and to speak, to think, and to act, and to move in the directions that that divine higher self would offer. Thank you for the love. Thank you for hopping on, everyone over in Instagram land. Let me just say a little hello. Blessings and welcome. Oh, thank you, everyone. Nice to see you, everyone. Blessings, blessings. So yes. Okay, so this is very interesting because as some of you know, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. There was a period not too long ago where I didn't sleep very much at all for 30 days. And there was initiation with bat medicine, right? That really took me on a shamanic journey. Germany. Are we going to Germany? It led me on a shamanic journey, which is really to meet a deeper part of my dark side and the subconscious realms of past lives and of past persons who I have been, and to meet that part of myself that has operated in the dark, that knows the dark, that knows how to wield the dark side. You see, we all know how to wield the dark side. manipulation, seduction, sleight of hand, just all sorts of things that we, in fact, have tricked ourselves about. And this is where knowing thyself divine comes into play and healing ourselves, because we then begin to become illumined to those aspects of self that have been lying to ourselves. Remember, we've been talking about this for a couple shows now, this aspect of what are we coming into when we align with higher self, when we come into really being present with all our colors turned on, is that we are not lying to ourselves. And one thing that I recognize is that as my own shamanic path has always been in the hell realms and with the dark side. But over my lifetime, what I've realized is that this is actually a superpower. And it is a superpower because what is happening is that as you go higher in your light body is already and always turned on, by the way. And what we're doing is we're frequency matching through the color codes of the spectrum of the chakras and those stories held in those houses and those portals and those domains. We're clearing and we're refining and we're healing and we're, again, integrating the dark and the light, the yin and the yang through each aspect, and bringing out then the best of both of those and knowing how to weigh them like the justice scales and utilize those aspects accordingly. And now ultimately we're never forcing a will. We're moving outside of manipulating. We're moving outside of seduction. We're moving outside of forcing anyone or anything's will for anything at all. Because if it doesn't come to you of your own resonance factor, then it's a very different journey. It's not good or bad. It's a very different journey. If you have to force someone or something to come and play with you, to love you, to be in your presence, rather than it being of a divine aligned accord and a meeting that is blessed by the Most High, doesn't mean you can't create the correct conditions for yourself to be prepared for that meeting, right? And all of this stuff, all of our healing, all of our practices is a continual preparation of self, so that as we meet life moment to moment, we are in the present moment and we are able to then call on and hear clearly the higher self, the voice for God, that voice of oneness, of love, of unity. If God is a knee-jerk reaction word for you, it's really just love. It's that sowing the seed of love that's going to help to continue to create the fabric of love, that fabric of unification, of that base point of flower of life level of sacred geometry within you and all around you. But it's not so easy, is it? It's easy once you start to get the hang of it. You're like, oh, I just got to keep showing up for practice. I got to just keep being a good person and loving myself, and and allowing the kindness and the higher self to channel through me in my decisions. Beep. So back to the bat. So the hell realms, working in the hell realms, is something that I had not allowed myself to be fully acknowledging of for my life. And side note, if you're a coffee drinker, okay, so this morning I made my coffee and I felt like I did myself wrong because it did not taste the way I wanted it to taste, but I still drank it with my little toast in the morning. And just now before the show, though, I was like, you know what? I was not satisfied. So I made a little cup of it how I would have it, which is strong and black. Stronger than this morning. So I'm double fisted. I've got my coffee and my water. All right. So back to it. Okay. So my whole life I've known, and maybe this is for you too, that you, right, battle in the dark side. You battle in the hell realms. You see other people's dark sides like really easily, like you see it, but you don't have to judge it. You're aware of the operations of the manipulation. I'm going to run my throat chakra. I feel like I'm a little tongue-tied this morning. I run my throat chakra. So we realize that all of these aspects are running through us. But there's a certain point where you recognize that you actually have a skill. You actually have skills in the hell realms. You have skills in tracking and helping and serving your clientele or the students or people that come to you, in honoring and seeing their own dark side and helping them to navigate for themselves through the labyrinth of their hell, of their own hell. And you just act as a guide to help them deliver themselves back to themselves, to find the light in the dark. And that's been the premise of my work from the beginning. Yet I never really looked at it in that same way until the bat came. Because really what's happening is you're in essence being like a rescuer, but you're not really rescuing anyone because you're helping them to rescue themselves. But you're kind of like, you get sent in to the hell realms as a light being to help illuminate that space for the one who is searching for the journeyer. Yet you have to stay completely non-judgmental, without any preference and attachment to the way anything should show up for that individual. You are completely detached when you do that work. And in the hell realms, you cannot lie. As a light worker, now the hell realm is full of liars, right? That's where we lie, in the hell realms. Yet if you're going to do light work in the hell realms, you cannot lie for one moment to yourself or to others. And you cannot manipulate anything if you're going to do that light work in there. You have to be crystal clear, or else you get burned, you get singed, you get kicked out. So it's this very interesting thing, because I'm sitting out there. And now, as you know, if you followed with all these knife throwing stuff, there's just been this really powerful supernatural activation of echolocation of these psychic ability powers that have already been within me, and perhaps for you too. But when you come across certain animal totems, you come across certain spiritual affectations in your life, and you really start to pay attention, you can see how they are messengers, right? For medicine, for information that you are ready to receive, that your dots of awareness can be connected so that you can utilize and integrate their medicine into your life. So what was happening as I was coming into these 30 days and actually after it too, is this realization of this like bumping up of my life force energy. And I'm already a Reiki master of over 20 years. So there's a certain level of that awareness already. But there was this extra power. And I was sitting outside and I was realizing, I had just thrown knives, and I was realizing, like, this shit is fucking on. This is for real. I feel this superpower activation, and there's many layers to it, but just on a basic level, so we keep in line with what we're talking about with the light and the dark, there was this realization of, like, there's this really powerful multidimensional activation happening here. And I know that I can use this for good or for bad. And the thing is that when you move into working in those realms, now whether you are a shaman and you work in the hell realms, or you're just your own shaman working in your own hell realms, in your own dark soul of the night, you will be met with the dark, right? And you will be met with that opportunity to face your shadow down. And I will check in with the comments here in a little bit. But this point is that what happens is that when you start working in that dark side and you're good at it and your light is turned on, the evil, which I did a couple posts ago on my Insta, the evil that is not real, the illusion that is not real, will reach its hand out to you and it'll say, oh, you seem to be really good at that. You want to work on my side, right? It'll come in with the seduction, and it'll favor you, right? And for a split second, you might even consider it. I remember I was outside and I was having a sagerette, and I was like, this energy was so intense. And believe me, if you know, in your spiritual practices over the years and years and years, I mean, it just continues. There's no ceiling, you see. There's no ceiling. And whatever this idea with there's so many chakras or so many things, these are aspects that we've created here for ourselves, to study by, to learn ourselves by. But ultimately, there are no walls, there are no limits. And so spirit, love, light, God, source is the one. And so you are continually opening yourself into that one. But what happens is when you're in the dark and you're attuned with that one, is that the dark is like trying to be all like, okay, well, shit, this one is so in with the one that it's going to see through me and it's going to lay me down. I'm not going to have any power over that. I'm not going to have any space to rent out in their aura, in their chakras, in their frequency, in the halls of their mind. That's going to keep perpetuating any fear-based notions or knowledge. And so it starts to befriend you, and it starts to invite you to work for it. And I remember I was sitting outside having that sagerette, and it was like not even a split second. And I was like, wouldn't that be funny? And a thing fell off the sagerette, and it burnt, like a little tobacco or something, or sage, and it burned my finger. And it was only slight and for a split second, but it was higher self saying, don't even for one fucking second. And pardon my French. Pardon my cursing. I don't really feel that it's cursing as such, but anyway, it is what it is. But it was higher self. It was like the universe and higher self saying, like, not even for 1 second do you even consider that. And I was like, of course. And of course not, right? Of course not. Yet there was that thing in there that was still like, like for a half a minute, split second, in a minor consideration, and right away higher self nipped it in the bud. And because I'm aware, I paid attention. I was like, thank you. Of course not. Thank you for that sign. because you cannot play on both teams, you see. You can try, like in the movies, but ultimately someone's got their hands wrapped around you that is doing and giving the orders. Is it going to be the love and light? Is it going to be God, source, unifying force? Or is it going to be that which constitutes the separation, right? And the classification and the division? And continue to keep that fear-based aspect of reality going for you so that you can then send it out through your perceptual lenses into the grid matrix and continue to create it in the simulation, not only for yourself to react by, but for the world, for the collective. And so what we're doing is we're disbanding those aspects within ourselves. When I teach about the chakras, and I have numerous videos on YouTube about it, and I'll come back here on YouTube and I'll put the links up top later. There's so much to go in with it. Yet the aspect, what I'm talking about though, and let me just finish that story. So with the sagerette and the dark and the light, so if you've ever had past life readings done, and I'll put this in a bubble of light because, when you get these things done, when you are very impressionable at the beginning, you believe everything that spiritual people tell you because you don't know any better and you're learning and you're like, soaking it all in and you're like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that. And you take, and then you learn, right? What's really serving you and what really resonates as truth for you to live by. So taking it with a pinch of salt, I actually had my leaves read, my palm leaves read from a guru guy in India. And it was on a Skype, and this was years ago. And he told me that in a past life, bubble of light, but he told me in a past life that I was a Qigong master. Yet I abused my power. And I actually killed 3 people with Qi. Now that's fucking huge, right? Especially now I'm this Reiki master. I'm a woman in this life. In that life, I was a man, and I was and then I would just like get into these brawls to prove my power, right? Using it in an inappropriate way. And so I don't know how many lifetimes it's taken since then to come to clarity and to learn how to harness, to embody, and to utilize that energy, for the highest good, and know that the roots are in love. But that's where we are now. And so taking that into consideration, OMG, if that has been a part of my past, of the memory of those Akashic records that is in the subconscious of me, then that is something that is still in there that might come up, like that little flickering of that 1 second of like, I could use, and not even that I went there, of like, oh, this energy could be used in a bad way. But you get the idea. That's the God phone. Hello? Hey, God. Blessings. God says, hi, everyone. Yes. The Chakra Handbook. I would love to read. I have no idea. What are we going to read? God says, any page, ask someone. Okay, someone, that's you. You guys throw out a few page numbers, and we'll see what sticks, and we'll read something. Thank you. God blesses all of us, eternal in love and in light. And so it is. Thank you, dear God. I love you too. Blessings. Awesome. Okay. So if you want to throw down a few pages or a few numbers that come to mind, we'll see if there's some guidance and wisdom here in the Chakra Handbook. So the aspect of the subconscious, I'll read comments here in a second. The aspect of the subconscious, though, when I do this work, generally we go into the root chakra. And that's where we're going to go on our workshop on Monday night. We're going to go into the root chakra to then do the work in those higher chakras to meet higher self. Imagine the root chakra is the basement, right? It's the subconscious. And that's where all of the darker affectations reside. And the aspect that I'm speaking to in regard to that is to meet our shadow, is to meet it, right? And to see it in all honesty, and to know, to see clearly where it is we have fallen short, where it is we have been misusing our power or powers in certain ways, and to honestly and consciously, as your higher self and with embodiment of impeccability to the greatest that you can, to affirm and to then enact that action, that thought, that word that would meet and match your higher self, right? And that's all it is with the subconscious, is that whenever the negative comes up, you have to replace it, you have to replace it with the positive, with that message, with that action that you would have. You have to grow those new synapses in a way that would create a new patterning for ourselves. And what happens is those synapses energetically, right, physically in the body, but also those synapses of the collective through the grid matrix, through the Akashic, through the earth grids, through the crystalline core, start to configure and how they're connected to us and through us. Okay. And then again, that creates a different paradigm for us to live by. But then the integration begins, where now you're awake and now you're aware, and now you're going to start to pay more attention as those parts of yourself come up. And you get to continue to create those new synapses by choosing love, choosing the right course of action. What would higher self do or say? Remember, we did the show, I think it was last week. What would higher self do? Or maybe it was a few weeks ago. What would higher self do? And that's ultimately what we're asking ourselves as we learn to turn all our colors on. And what does this even mean? This means that you are living awake. It means that you are not afraid anymore. You're not afraid of letting all of your colors shine. Okay, so we think about the root chakra, I belong. The second chakra, here I am. The third chakra, I am here. The fourth chakra, I am love. The fifth chakra, I am that. The sixth chakra, I see how I am that. The seventh chakra, I am. So all of the aspects in the root chakra, what is blocking your I belong? That's where you're not turned on. Second chakra is the root of your here I am. That's the message from your higher self, actually. That's a part of your coding of the messages of the visions that you'll find in your heart that are guiding you along your perfect path of purpose, of happiness, of health, right? No matter what the matrix or your culture or the traditions might tell you, but it is what is your unique calling. And so are you listening? What is your here I am saying? Are you turned on? Are you giving it space so that it can be turned on and lit by the divine so it can channel through you? And as your here I am starts to awaken, then there's that power in the third chakra to be like, I am here, because you know what your here I am is. And so that energy then moves up, right? So we begin in the root chakra, I belong. Feeling that there's a place for you here, feeling that you have a right to be here, feeling that you even want to be in a body on this planet, right? Outside of wanting to maybe leave this planet or leave this body, right? And commit suicide or get out of here. So number one, just being cool with being in a body on this planet is number one in that root chakra, right? And also the gateway of fear. So if there's old school fears that are locked in, that's going to be a cock blocker to us being able to ground our energy with the earth frequencies, which is vital to have that connection with earth and sun, with the source and with this planet, the space that we find ourselves in now. Okay. And this is earth. The world, as I teach, is the grid matrix of collective consciousness. It is a reflection of our collective consciousness. That is our programs. That is a subset of the Akashic records of all memory of all beings. And what we're invited to do when we have our colors all turned on, what we're doing is we are tripping the light fantastic in the now moment, is that we are not bound by those anchors of the past, of the limitations. But as we rewire those limitations to meet the truth in us, that is, there are no limits, is that we begin to really embody that. And we move beyond those aspects into our supernatural powers, you see. You are multidimensional, right? We have a sense of this. Yet, how often do you get to really access that? And as you access that, then you begin to wield that power. And as you show responsibility and impeccability, universe, source, God, love, light will give you more of that. Now, equally, if you decide to wield that power in the way of darkness, the fear, the root system of the hell realms will give you more to wield as well. But that then will be your own karma, right? Because we know as we wield dark, as we wield fear, as we wield that, especially when we know better, especially when we're conscious and we know better, but we still choose the lesser, that's when we really begin to create more karmas for ourselves in those domains. Because have we learned yet then? Have we learned the higher lesson? So let's go ahead and have a look here. Oh, blessings. Thank you everyone for hopping on. I thought there was, oh, look at everyone's here. Such a gift. I love this community so very much. I thought there were a few comments. Oops, pardon me. Let me see. I was having trouble getting on here this morning. All right. Oh, blessings, everyone. Thank you for being here. Self-Center Canada. It's so funny. I was thinking about you this morning because I always call you Senator. And I was like, yo, you know what? My girl in Canada, she's a senator, okay? She says, I'm late for church. Knifing is a whole level connection. Yeah, I know, right? It's true. It's true. Blessings. Thank you for saying hi, everyone. Cursing is what is real talk. Twin lives, Self-Center, twin lives. I was military repeatedly and always a man. Yeah. Oh, you know what? One of my most recent last lives. Yeah. 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 Vietnam. You know, and this is interesting. It will come back because I know I've done a show on past lives in the past. But there's this multidimensionality of us, right? And I know as I've looked into past lives, and this is just a little side note, that I've seen where, you know, we exist multidimensionally. So there's multiple timelines. So in one past life, there's very possible chances that you were living more than one past life, if that makes sense, right? Because I have these memories of being in Vietnam and of dying there and of being a boy, a young man. But also, there's other past lives that kind of overlap with that at the same time. But that's a different that's a different conversation. So, okay, blessings. So thank you for your conversation. And if there's any other comments, please do. And like the God Phone said, we have this book, the Chakra Handbook. And I think it would be interesting to think about, you know, again, with the chakras, as we learn about this stuff, there's the higher, right, aspects. And it's like astrology, right? There's the higher aspects and then there's the lower aspects. And it's that same thing in the chakra system where we're learning what, you know, to honestly look at ourselves. What is my higher, right, aspect and what is the lower aspect of these colors? Because as these colors get turned on, those lower aspects become disbanded, they dissolve. And the higher aspects are given the right of way to take over. And that's when you're shiny. That's when you don't give a fuck. That's when you're like awake and aware and you're not bound by the limitations. And really, what are limits? They're only fear. And those are fearful stories and memories that for some reason we've either created through past lives and or that we've decided have created a safety net for us or that we have guilt around. So remember, forgiveness is not only about forgiving other people, but it's about forgiving yourself. You know, and honestly, I thought about that palm reading and where the guru was like, and you killed, you know, 3 people from being this qigong master. I've never really sat there and written energy letters or, you know, apologized to those 3 people or anything because I never really gave it that much thought. And I never really sat with it. But now we're sitting with it and I'm going like, okay, this is interesting. As I'm called to be present in that and to perhaps do work to further collapse that, right? That connection from the Akashic to me so that those records aren't playing in my etheric body anymore and triggering the grids, then I get to work that out perhaps, right? As we move forward. So blessings and thank you for being here. So let's go ahead and have a little look at, let's just think about the idea as well of the colors in the body. You know, when I first started teaching this stuff about 20 years ago, the first aspects that became, the first messages that started really channeling through were about the aura and the seed sound, the seed frequency that we are when we come into this lifetime. So if you think about it, think about your life. And when you came in, when you became conscious, when you started doing your spiritual work, you started becoming aware of like, oh, I've got hangups in this area, or I've got limitations or fears, big fears around this, or I can't get over this thing. I can't move in this project or these relationships or with money or whatever the stuff is, right? Your body, your health, all these things. You start to, find all these areas where you get to work on yourself and in your life. Yet when we first come in, right, there is a key note. There is a key note, a sound that you are in resonance with when you first come in. And that is going to represent the level that you're coming up into. Now, it doesn't mean that so what I mean by that is what I feel is when I came into this life, that I was born with all my colors turned on up until the throat. And then I was like, I can't speak for myself. I can't speak up. I had all sorts of weird stuff with sex and men and, you know, holding my space and saying no and creating healthy boundaries. Just in all the ways that fed into my life with being able to speak up for myself and being bullied and all this sort of stuff. And so in your life, where did you come in, right? Where were you open up till? And it's not like, oh, you're better if you're up or you're down. It's just like whatever this lifetime is, where those lessons are that you chose to come into, right? Is it a lot of sexual stuff? Is it in the second chakra? And the video has been paused over here on Instagram. So let me go ahead. Live video ended. Wow. And it's not even letting me. Wow, it's not even letting me. Isn't that interesting? It didn't even let me keep it. Okay, so let's go back in. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming back in. Pardon me, I'm having a moment. So Instagram, it just ended the video. Here we go, getting reset up. Instagram just ended the video for some reason, and then it wouldn't let me post it. So I don't know. I don't know what that's, unfortunately or fortunately or whatever that's about. But Instagram would not let me continue. It wouldn't let me post the video. So here we are back again. So thank you for everyone for joining again. And I'll just reintroduce, because in case this does go live on Insta and I'm allowed to post it. I am Tuesday Mae Thomas, and this is my weekly live stream 4D Trinity. And as I'm sharing with everyone who's been here already, is that we have already recorded more, I think, than half of the show, and it ended, and it didn't allow me to repost onto, Instagram. So here we are. So again, what I'm going to do is just remind us that there is a full moon meditation to meet your higher self, Monday, April 26th, 5:30 to 6 p.m. We will be chanting the Bija mantras for the seed sounds to activate the chakras. And then 6 to 7, we'll be going in deep to meet the higher self, to connect with that. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second, about why that is so important to your colors being turned on. Okay. But also, that's going to be by donation, and it's 6 o'clock California time, Pacific Standard Time. So 5:30 chanting, 6 o'clock meditation on Instagram Live. So please feel free to join. Okay, so all of that said, all of your colors being turned on, right? This is, again, where your higher self, the voice for your higher self, is inside of you, and it's inside every single part of you, and it's inside and outside every part and parcel of creation, because it is the voice for God, because it is the blueprint of mastery within you. And when we allow ourselves to walk in such a way, in that blueprint of mastery, we become aligned with our inner master. And that's when your life really starts to take off. So where did you come in? Before this Instagram live ended, we were talking about when we came into this lifetime, where did we come into, right? And I was sharing that I feel, as I became awakened to understanding spirituality and the chakras and all this stuff, that I came in up into my throat chakra, that I felt very activated and open and awake and aware. And not that I didn't have my dark nights of the soul and wanted to kill myself and leave. And I know that sounds deep if you're just joining the show, or if you missed the first half, but perhaps we've all had these highs and lows to a degree, right? So it doesn't mean you're not going to have them, even if you feel that you came in with an open heart. It just means that there's still lessons, right, to reconfigure, to align, so that you can be turned on in this lifetime. And so knowing this and going into that, that's what I was saying, is that when we are born, there is a root resonance, right? So like the crystal bowl behind me, there's a sound, right? I believe that's in C. So you come into this life with a key note. And that key note is a reflection of the cycles per second of the literal spin state of your atomic structuring, right? How fast everything is spinning or how slow everything is spinning. This is going to denote the sound, the frequency that you are, right, generally, right, in every day and every moment. Yet when you first come in, right, there's a seed frequency, a seed color. So what color intuitively do you feel that you came in as? Okay. And ultimately, that's where you feel, oh, I came into, I was open, or I felt pretty open to whatever point, whatever that main point where the blockage is or was, like that has been your biggest stepping stone into turning yourself on, into turning your colors on. So where is it in your life where the most conundrum, where the most challenges, where the most fear, where the most battles, like internal, that you had to, or have to, or you're in it now, that you're going through in your life? Where do they reside in your life? This is your medicine. This is what's going to actually give you wings and give you an initiation that is tailored just for you to know thyself divine, that's going to help you transform and transmute and know who you are on that multidimensional level of your being, right? And so this is all about navigating our multidimensionality as we move into this Aquarian age, as we move into, come on, right? Look at everything that's happening in the world, right? In the matrix. So much is changing. The Rubik's Cube, right? And it's been a minute. It's been a minute since your girl's been clicking that cube, I tell you, but it's there on the altar. It's there. And I know it's there. And we're going to return to it because it's got a holy place in this whole scripture and these whole teachings. right? But there's a reconfiguration of all of that stuff, of all of these lessons and these knowings, so that we can match, so that we can frequency match again that truth within us. The purpose, the light, the vision, wherever that main block for me, again, it was my throat chakra. And for the most of my life, learning to heal that, learning to open my throat, learning to speak up for myself was the biggest thing. And it's taken the majority of my life. Again, not to say that there weren't other aspects, but that was the linchpin, and how that then, the blockages in my throat chakra affected all of the other chakras, right? From being able to be lit in their fullest capacity, right? That was dampening it, because wherever we have a shortage or a blockage in one energy center is going to start to affect the surrounding energy centers. So understanding that, right? There is the dark and the light, and to not be afraid of it. So there's so much, and I really don't have anything prepared. Thank you for hopping on, Bugaboo. So there's Will Harrell. He's going to be chanting the Bija mantras with us on Monday. I was going to say February, April 26th for the beginning, for our warmer-upper for the Meet Your Higher Self guided meditation on Monday night with the full moon. So thank you for being here, Bugaboo, for hopping on. So being turned on, this is living without fear. This is knowing your supernatural powers and integrating them and living by them, and knowing the difference continually each step of the way between the light and the dark, and consciously making the choices in the way of the light that will help to nourish and fortify those higher aspects of self, so that they can be strengthened again and amplified. And what happens is, as we continue to clear those ways, is that the path just becomes clearer for us. We don't have to do so much work. In the beginning, perhaps there's a lot of work that we get to do, right? To even hear the voice for God, and even to know, to discern what is that outside of all the weird or crazy voices in my head, so to speak. And so it's an initiation, right? And then an integration. Fear. What is your biggest fear? What is holding you back? What has been your biggest fear your whole life? I'm going to read the comment here. Hey, blessings, Elizabeth Peregrina. Thank you for hopping on over at YouTube. Wow, sis, I never hop on here. So glad I did. Yes, thank you for being here. Hey, Danae, and I pray I'm saying your beautiful name correctly. I always think about it. I'm like, you're such a goddess. I'm like, I'll pray I'll do her right by saying her name correctly. Okay, so yes, being turned on. So it's like showing up. So how often do you feel? Am I the only one that feels this, right? When you leave the house, like 75% of the time, I feel like I'm on a mission. I feel like I'm on a mission. I feel like I am a superhero. Do you feel like you're a superhero? This is what happens when all your colors start to get lit and turned on, and all those chakras become clear. You like, right? You begin to activate these supernatural powers, which are really just the conglomeration of all of your 5 physical senses. And on the other side of that, so your physical senses, right, have a limit, because there's a certain spectrum. Yet there's the psychic ability side to it. So we know that we can see with this vision, right? And even I have to wear glasses to see, small print and stuff, and to read and whatnot. So we know these physical eyes, right? We can look around and stuff, but we really see with the third eye and the heart, right? And we can really touch, and we can say, oh, that's really nice. But then are we feeling? We're feeling and sensing, right? The memory, what's in this? How intuitive and sensitive are you into feeling into your surroundings, right? And not just like how, oh, it feels soft, it feels hard, it feels itchy or whatnot, right? The taste, there's something that happens, right? When you begin to really taste. And a lot of that on a 3rd dimensional level is because we've been detoxing to a certain level. And so we're actually able to taste a fuller spectrum of life on the tip of our tongue, right? It's how we hear. Are we hearing? We can hear a certain degree with our ears, but when we really start to listen, so there's these aspects of really unfolding that happen through the chakra system that activate our supernatural powers. And then, so what happens is you begin to become lit, and you see with the third eye and the heart, and you see through the veils of the matrix. You realize you don't have to judge anything or anyone here or yourself, but you begin to see through the veils of the illusion, right, that are set up here. You begin to see through the veils of like, oh, I'm only supposed to be able to do, I'm taught that my body is only supposed to be able to do this, or at this age, I'm supposed to like not be able to do X, Y, Z. And your body, your thoughts, your mind, your world begins to show you the supernatural reflection that says, yeah, kid, that's just a story that you were told in the Matrix. There's actually more. If you keep showing up to practice, you keep meditating, or you keep listening to higher self is going to take you by the hand and show you the way, to show you really what there is more of yourself to be met in all of those colors of yourself. And so when you leave the house, do you feel like a superhero? You're on a mission, right? And there's like, go, 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 go. Like you're getting this continual download, right? From source, from God, from your higher self, from your people, from your dudes or your chicks, right? You're all those light beings who love you. And they're just continually like, hello, breaker, you're going to take a left here. You're going to order the kimchi or whatever. They'll tell you everything to do that's going to be in alignment for your higher good, right? Doesn't mean you have to do it all, but they're always going to be placing the path. Higher self is always going to be placing the path for you to be turned on, for you to be lit. How often are you, meeting the challenge? And a lot of these times we can be challenged because there's fear there. And it's moving beyond that fear, which is the initiation, again, to know who we are in our superpower. Look at all the movies, all the stories, right? Superheroes always have to battle the dark side of the soul. They always have to battle the dark side of their fears or their addictions, or there's something that the pain from the father or the mother or the whatever that story is, or stories. But that's how they get to know their real power that is in doing the good, right? That is in like the force, the life force, the good force versus the evil force or the darker forces. And that's it. That's when you align with that energy and you create the correct conditions within you so that that energy just naturally is you and aligns with you and channels through you on behalf of you. That's when you begin to go, again, see things in a very different way. You begin to understand because you're seeing more than what you've been taught to see. You're hearing, you're listening deeper than how you've been taught to hear and to listen. You're sensing, you're feeling, you're tasting. Every part of you is turned on. And what happens is when all those senses become calibrated through your conscious work, through you building up the sensitivity in a balanced and detached way to walk through the domain and have all your psi abilities lit to be able to hear, right? To be able to see, to be able to sense, on those deeper metaphysical levels. What happens is your intuition, your other senses, your multidimensional superpower, superhero senses that are really not superpowers and superheroes. They are when we think about just like, the human being that we're told we are, but we are more than just that, right? We are a light being. We are so beyond. And even that sort of seems limiting, right? We are ultimately a free energy body. We don't even need this body or any of these constructs, but we're here in the third dimension working things out currently in it. So we get in to this light body activation, and with the service of clearing those memories in the chakras, we remember the codes that are inherent within us, which are that we are divine creators and that we can really do, be, and become anything. Things are atoms. Things of this world are made of energy. You are made of energy. You can do and be and have anything. And this is the thing, though. Again, as you bump up your frequency and you begin to attain your magic, or I won't say magic, your superpowers in that way, your superhuman, your super, natural powers, is again, there will be this dance of like, I feel so illumined, right? I can read people's minds, say, am I going to then use this power in a manipulative way to go in and to psychically, manipulate or to listen in, to eavesdrop, or I have really good remote viewing, right? Which just means you can see what's going on in New York in someone's apartment or whatnot, So are you going to abuse that? And are you going to go in, and spy on people? Like, really? And these are real superpowers. I mean, these are real powers that we all have. But again, there's that negotiation, right? Where it's like, you're like, I have these this ability, to do all this stuff that is beyond the norm. And so let me continue to be my higher self and to keep that connection so I know how to continually weave the pattern of perfection throughout creation on behalf of God, on behalf of higher self. so I don't create more karma. And that's living your dharma. When you live your dharma, you're living your purpose. And when you live your purpose, when you live your truth, you are not triggering those old landmines. You are not triggering those old memories of limitation, of fear, and things that would keep you bound to the past. That's all memory is. The matrix runs on memory. That's all it is the past. And where we're going is into the now moment. And really, it's not anywhere to go. It's just to be. Right? We're learning to just be in the now moment and to relax with what that now moment is as it abides and to be present with it. Right? And ultimately, all of this dark side stuff is the training that is the bridgeway that leads us home to remembering our divinity. And this is the spiritual path, right? For all of us to meet our dark side on some level. And again, think about how good you are. Okay, so here we go. Think about how good you are. How kind you are, the good deeds you do. Now imagine how good you are on one hand is how, I'm going to say this word, quote, bad you can be as well. And now here we go. The video was paused again on Instagram. Wow. And they're not letting me post. Wow. This is really incredible. This is really incredible. Pardon me again, my friends. This is really outrageous that this is even happening like this. I'm going to check my Wi-Fi. Pardon me 1 second. And thank you for being here. And thank you for your patience. Yeah, we're connected. Everything is good. Okay, let's try this one more time. Oh, and now it's acting up. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Oh, wait, it's getting funky. Oh, it's being tricky. Interesting. Okay, so I don't even think we're live. No, we're not live. Isn't this interesting, family? So, okay, so I'm not sure if Instagram wants to come back again. This happened, remember? This happened not too long ago. And my app is updated and all that good stuff. So we might have to leave it there. I'll try it one more time. Very, very interesting. Okay, my friends. Here in YouTube land, thank you for being here. Yeah, it's doing this weird thing over there on Instagram. So we'll give it a second and we'll see if we're supposed to go back on. If we're not, we're not. And that'll be what it's supposed to be. So how I'd like to offer this, and I feel like there's been so many interruptions. It is what it is. But it's that integration, you see, your telepathy and your intuition become activated, right? As you become activated. I have to turn this off now. It's flashing. It's doing this weird thing. Okay. Your energies become activated. Telepathy, intuition, they become activated. When your intuition is activated, you have a much broader sense and sensibility of your surroundings. You have a much broader sense and sensibility of that split second of what's coming ahead of time, because you're in the now, because you are not residing in time. And so you can voyeur and you can see a glimpse into future possibilities. You can see into the past. You can see in all directions. What are you going to do with that sight? What are you going to do with that vision? How can it serve you? How can it serve others? Your telepathic abilities allow you a certain gauge of navigating your system in this third dimension. Your intuition is all about your higher self. Your intuition is your higher self guiding you. It is that internal GPS system. And so are we creating the correct conditions for that higher self to be heard, to channel through us? And once we do get the messages, do we have the courage or just even the sustenance to do and act and be and embody what it is higher self is inviting us to? It's one thing to get the message, right? It's one thing to work to that place where finally, I'm beginning to understand and navigate the difference between, all these voices in my head versus like, that clear connection, from source, that clear connection of that divine and holy voice. And once you get those downloads, then are you responding? Right? What are you doing with that information? Are you showing up on behalf of it, on behalf of yourself? And that's a part of the initiation with intuition as well, is to learn how to trust it, to learn that you can trust your intuition. And you only know your intuition by leaning into it, by trusting it, and by practicing. Okay? And so that's the invite. Practicing, leaning into your intuition, letting it guide you along your path, that you may be illumined step by step. All your colors turned on means you are awake, you are activated, you are consciously working in the domain of healing your life, of dissolving and disbanding grievances that would hold you back and perpetuate the past through you. And that's all those memories are, even if they are very hurtful, and even if they've held you back most of your life. It's in the past, right? And the time is now. The time is now is the invitation to be turned on. The time is now to give that gift to yourself, to allow all of yourself to show up. And again, this is something I've talked about in the last couple of shows for myself personally. And the nose is itching again. Remember, I said this last time, pardon me. In Ireland, that means someone's thinking of you. So we'll see. But there's this, what was I even saying? The aspect, oh yes, of, sometimes we try to keep all of these parts of ourselves separate so that they are not connected. For a long time, I was keeping myself, and this is just new for me, where I was keeping, all these parts of myself. I have all these different hobbies and parts of myself that I like to, or that just naturally, I like it, yeah, but it's just, it naturally through creation, it just seeks, right, a platform. It seeks a voice. It seeks a place to be shared. And yet what I would be very good at is to keep all these little parts of myself separate and share them in separate channels in separate ways. And I would actually have a lot of fear around letting all of those parts of self come into a union and then be like sparkle, sparkle, boom, here it is, the whole thing. I would have fear around that for whatever different reasons. And so where in your life are you showing up? Right? For example, right, my Grid Mind Science, my project with the movie, which I'm grateful. Thank you everyone who supports at the platform Grid Mind Science. I would always keep that separate from all of the other versions of who I was and who I am, because I'd be fear. I would be fear. Yes, I would be fear. I would be fearful of being judged. And really what was I doing is I was already prejudging myself. I was setting myself up for judgment. I was setting myself up for that aspect that was exactly what I was afraid of. I was afraid that, and it has roots back to being bullied as a kid, that I wouldn't be liked, that I would be made fun of, that I would be bullied. There's these sub hidden realm, subconscious beliefs. And even though I've done so good at healing, I feel like 90% of that stuff, there's still some rudimentary stuff in there that peeks its head out, and it comes up as fear and limitation and judgment, right? And all those aspects that would create that separation consciousness within us and for us and in our environment. And so getting to learn that it's okay and that I won't be killed. Remember, I said I came in up to the throat. Well, as I learned more and more about my past lives and feeling what is in resonance for me, here we go. I have been beheaded several times in past lives for speaking my truth, for speaking up on behalf of myself, for sharing such teachings as we are sharing now. And so when I came in, I realized that there was this thing where I could speak up as long as my bedroom door was shut. And I used to put mattresses up against the windows, the doors. I would be so afraid of people, my parents, my family, anyone hearing what I was doing. If you read my book, The Reiki Apprentice, right, the very first page, which is on Kobo for Canada, digital, Kindle, and Amazon, paperback and Kindle. But the very first, I think, paragraph of the book is where I'm little and I'm in my room creating a horseshoe like of an event. And I have my little board and I'm teaching the invisibles, which is my imaginary friends, right? The ghosts that I used to talk to as a child with my stuffed animals in between. And I would teach, and I don't know what I was teaching. I believe that I was teaching the same stuff that what I'm talking now. I can't remember, right? It'd be fun to be hypnotized and go back in and kind of really delve in there. But I remember that I used to freaking cover my windows and stuff, even for my mother not to hear me, because I was like, okay, this is like some deep shit, okay? With my imaginary, I'm 5 years old with my imaginary friends and my stuffed animals, teaching them in my bedroom with the doors covered. So that's some mystery school shit. Do you know what I mean? There's like, what has that ever been something for you? Where has it been for you where you've been like, and maybe that's just my own a little scenario, for my karmas and whatever my lessons are. But this is the point of that, is that came from a fear. I didn't know it back then, but that was rooted in some kind of fear of being heard, of being seen, because I was going to be hurt. I was going to be killed. I was going to be, I was going to be ostracized for sharing whatever these teachings were. So even as a child, this was channeling through me, the fear. And that has been that aspect that I've gotten to work with. And as I've learned to harmonize that throat chakra and get over myself and heal those wounds, which has taken, even just up until maybe a couple months ago, I still had a beheading healing, through the past lives and through all that stuff where I was like, oh man, there's more in here. Like how many times, like for 20 years, I've been healing this neck thing. This getting your head cut off thing. And so now I can laugh about it. When I first realized it, I was like, oh my God, it's a guillotine, because it was a guillotine, the first memory. Okay. And that's crazy. I know if all this stuff is new, then it's all crazy, perhaps. Yet maybe it's not. Maybe you're like, oh yeah, girl. No, for me, it was an arrow through the heart, or for me, it was a knife in the back, or, we all have these things. So even just on the topic of that, because I know we're going for an hour here, so we'll wrap up soon, but on the topic of that, your biggest turn off about yourself, again, your biggest fear where you feel turned off and you can't move forward, that's your biggest turn on. That's where your work is, to get the most turned on so that you can begin showing up in your life and turn your life on for yourself, so that life can turn itself on for you and meet you on that level. Remember, we're done lying. We're not lying to ourselves anymore. Me trying to compartmentalize myself and keep this hidden from that and this and that and this and that, all lies. It's fine. It was what it was, and it is what it is, and I'm not going to beat myself up about it. But then when you really get it, you're like, oh, let me have trust and faith in myself and in the process of whatever it is that I'm so divinely guided to share and be and embody. It's my truth. It's my nature. If they're going to kill me, they're going to fucking kill me. It's like, let me just get over this fear, remove those blockages, and just let it all gelatinize together. Trust in the Lord, that this is my truth and this is just the truth for me, and let it come, let it be. And the vigor, the vitality, the life force you get, think about it. When you've been afraid, like you've been really afraid to get on that stage or to do that, like that public speaking or that whatever it is, and then you do it, you get over it. I remember as a singer-songwriter, I first started playing guitar when I was 21, and I'm no aficionado. I basic chords, but the first time I ever got up at a songwriter night, dry throat, I was just like my fingers, and I was all better. It was as good as it was going to be, but I was so freaking nervous, and it was not a great performance at all. But I got off that stage, and this third chakra, this activation happened where I was like, I kind of broke a little sweat. And even now, going back to that memory, I feel a little zhuzh through my system of that memory of shit, I fucking did it. I did it. And okay, it wasn't, I'm no Madonna up there. I'm no I'm not a pro at this by any means, the singer-songwriter thing, but I did it. And it was my first time, and I got a surge of power from meeting myself there, because that's what my higher self, that's what my truth and my heart was like, yours, right? At that point in my life, that's all I did, was singer-songwriter. And my heart was like, this is what you do. Go do it. Share it. And I was like, but I suck. And I can't even, my finger, I can't. And the higher self was like, go do it. Just start. The only way you're going to do it is when you start doing it. Because I had these visions of singing in a band and, all this stuff, which later then all that stuff happened. Record deals, all that stuff happened. But I had to get on the fucking stage first. And get over myself. And not that the second time was easy, and the third time and the fourth time, but it didn't ever really get easy until many years later, where it was like, all right, I got this, give me the mic. And then we're rocking it. Right. But there was a whole arc of initiation and getting over the ego, fear, the limitations of just doing it. And that's what I'm saying. Right. So what is it for you where that fear is? Because that's your biggest turn on. Samantha, oh, blessings. Thank you for being here. Yes, this is my old email, self-centered. Samantha Jane, which I love. I think that is so sexy. Thank you for hopping on over here, sister. You know what? Instagram, it did the thing. It cut it off again. And then it was going glucid. It was giving me a Mercury retrograde thing. So it'll be what it'll be. Maybe I'll have to do that guided meditation on YouTube as well as a backup. Oh boy. Now I'm really thinking about that. Okay. We'll see what higher self says, right? But so this is it, right? So what's the biggest turn off? What is the biggest fear? Because that's your biggest turn on. And all I know from me, right? Didn't that have a beautiful then, the way that my path was, that it was like, now show up and here's the guitar and you're going to sing. That was my own spirit's way of creatively helping me to bridge that gap, to get over that part of myself that had fear around opening the throat chakra. And it started with me playing and la, 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 singing, and just to open the channel. And then later I'm speaking, I'm guiding, I'm presenting, I'm doing all this stuff, which is very natural for me now. And it's always been natural, but it's the fear. You see, where's my picture? And we know this, right? Because this is our nature, is the God, is the love, is the light. This is our truth. This is the stories. This is the grid matrix. This is the stories. And there's good stories in here too. We teach, right? The binary system, there's love and fear. But why is it always the fear in this third dimension that has the power, that has the governing, that has the loudest voice, right? This is a part of the teachings here. This is just like a part of the way it is here. And those who are successful, those who are healing, those who are acing it here, right, are those who have learned how to integrate those lower aspects so that they can then channel the love through that integrated darkness of that matrix and sew it back all and bring us all back into that truth, which is the home of love and light. That's what I preach anyway, right? That's our truth, that nothingness. And all the stories, right, are just the stories. They're just the stories. And so how do we get into the now moment to listen to the higher self, right? We do our work, we practice, we meditate, we do all that stuff. We heal our lives, and it's a continuation, but it does get easier, and that light gets clearer, and your ability to listen, to hear becomes sharpened. It becomes louder, right? And soon, then it's just this automatic thing where higher self is continually that Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder that's just continually telling you, guiding, that GPS guiding you in your ways. And everything that you do then, again, creating those perfect circumstances for yourself to have a divine experience, because that's what we are ultimately remembering that we're here for, is to live turned on lives. And when we live turned on lives, that again is reflecting just our purpose. We're saying yes. We're saying yes to the visions in our heart. We're saying yes to our here I ams in that second chakra. And we're saying, I am here. And we're learning to love ourselves in our here I am, in our belonging, and our I am here. And we integrate that with the I am loveness. And through that I am loveness and all of our here I amness, then we speak, I am that. That's when we get into the point. See, because the throat chakra, and again, there's loads of videos on all the chakras and stuff, but the throat chakra, this is the real grounding element, because what you speak into creation, you're exciting the atomic structures of the universe. They are at your command. The atoms are just hanging out there. Boop, 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 and you're like, I see hate. And they're like, boop, 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 here's hate. You're like, I see love. They're like, boop, 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 here's love. It's all metaphysics. It's what you perceive. It's going to collapse. The wave function is going to create that reality for you. That's what I propose in quantum physics anyway. If you follow my grid mind science, I did a really juicy, it was very exciting, inspired by knife throwing. Interestingly enough, the many worlds theory, but I did a nice juicy video, 20-something minute video about the many worlds theory and about the universal wave function on my other page, Grid Mind Science. So if you're into all that stuff, you might want to check it out. Okay, so all of that said, let's see. And I pray, because I didn't have notes, I pray that this is in resonance and of service. And I know the God phone called. So, and the God phone was just like, just pick a page, have them pick a page, pick any page. So let's see, I'm getting 118. I don't know what's on 118, but let's have a look, shall we? Oh, interesting. The sixth chakra. The sixth chakra. Okay. What are we supposed to read here? Harmonious functioning of the sixth chakra. from the Chakra Handbook. This as well, by the way, I've had this book. My mother first had this book when I was little in Ireland. God, how old is this book? I remember being very young. 1988. Yeah, it was a minute ago. Anyway, she had this on the bookshelf, and then later I got my own copy of it, and I've had it, just forever. So it's one for the shelf, my friends, if you are a light worker. So harmonious functioning of the sixth chakra, you probably possess a well-developed capacity for visualization and the ability to comprehend many things intuitively. Your mind is composed and at the same time open to mystic truths, right? Yeah, we feel this. You realize more and more that the world of appearances is but an allegory, a symbol of a spiritual principle manifested on the physical level. I love this. This is totally like divinely, spontaneously guided, and it fully resonates with just the little ditty about the grid matrix in our little picture that we use here. So I love that resonance. I love that. Okay, you realize more and more that the world of appearance is but an allegory, a symbol of a spiritual principle manifested on the physical level. Idealism and fantasy, with a PH, are the key elements to your thinking. You possibly notice from time to time that your thoughts or ideas come true. And that's what happens, right? As we get turned on, is that you start knowing that the vision in your heart, that those divine intuitive nudges, they're real. They are leading you along the breadcrumb path of bridging heaven on earth and making it a reality with a capital R that you can live by and live through, and let that channel through and live through you too. So that's interesting. Harmonious functioning. Now, disharmonious functioning, and that's just a paragraph. There's like 6 paragraphs, 7 paragraphs on harmonious, but we're just popping in here. So disharmonious functioning of the sixth chakra. The most frequent consequence of a disharmoniously functioning sixth chakra is top heaviness, i.e. overemphasis on the mental sphere. Your life is determined almost exclusively by reason and intellect. Since you are trying to organize all aspects of your life in an intellectual manner, your skills, you only accept what you perceive with your rational mind. Your intellectual skills may be quite well developed, and you may possess the gift of keen analysis, but you are lacking a holistic way of seeing things and the capability of integrating all that you experience into a single cosmic law of natural balance. Now, isn't that interesting? Because, you come up into these spiritual realms and you go to these conferences or you go to workshops and you start to mingle with all these other people. And, and some people you're like, oh, they really got it going on. And some people you're like, oh, I'm going to go on the other side of the room. And, you feel it out. No judgment. You just follow your intuition. What was the point of that? What was the point of that? So funny how these thoughts just come and go. They just come and go. And now what was the grid matrix? There was a point. There was a point. Okay, we were reading the sixth chakra, top heaviness. Thank you. Okay, yes, where we begin to mingle, right, with other people in the spiritual world, and you begin to see like I remember when I was first learning and going to all these things, and but you're open, and so you're like hi, and you're meeting everyone, and you're like sharing and stuff, and you start to learn a discernment, right, and a navigation of just energies, right, of what feels right, of what feels resonant, and what doesn't feel resonant. And I remember someone saying, like, being at one of these events and meeting people, and I was standing with a person, and we met someone, and that person went away, and then the person I was standing with said, wow, they're not grounded at all. They've got it going on in the crown chakra in their third eye, but they have no root chakra grounding. And I was going like, I didn't really get it because I was beginning, right? I didn't understand those aspects of all that stuff. But that's what that speaks to when we are, have one chakra that's fully turned on and activated, yet without the other chakras, right, being incorporated into a practice without that grounding rod element, then there isn't, as the book was saying, isn't going to be that full spectrum, that full holistic capability of accessing a much broader spectrum. You see, because that's all the colors turned on, is that you're not only seeing like the light side and the heaven on earth, which we do, we see through the veils, and we see the good, we see the love, and that becomes your predominant vision. You're not seeing all the crazy. I mean, you see it, but you're not like affected, and you're not like judging it, and you're not like pointing it out constantly. You're just like, oh, that's the matrix. That's the world. Okay. Back to heaven on earth. And as you do that, I see, and isn't that funny? Now it's like this morning. It's just like this. I think we're supposed to wrap up soon. It's going round my little spinning wheel, like when you're downloading something, it's going like this. But so being, that when you have overactivated maybe a certain chakra without grounding or rooting it, without activating and in parallel, right, in a harmonious way, the rest of you, right? It's important. It's like you can be very spiritually, like meditating and have lots of crown chakra and lots of, real sense of connecting with God, and at the same time, maybe be not honoring a certain health aspect in your body. And the body is that part of us that carries us in life. Thank you, higher self. So this is getting me closer to what I was going to say. And what was I going to say? The higher self, getting us closer into the higher self, those dark and light aspects. When you have all your colors turned on, you know the light and the dark within yourself, and you choose to wield the light every moment, moment by moment, on behalf of yourself, on behalf of others. And it gets easier and easier and easier the more that, again, you trust the light, you trust yourself. We get into a habit and a pattern of feeling the safety of our wounds, of feeling the safety of the past, which is illusion. And it does take a great courage, right, to dissolve and to heal those aspects of self, to come into that fullness of oneself as their higher self, as their light body, activated multidimensionally. When we learn how to heal ourselves and we learn how to master this third dimension, you take that level of mastery through the dimensions with you. The issues and the aspects, the demons or the darkness or the shadow that you fight and you learn how to battle and stand up to in this dimension, you're going to have that same strengthening capacity as you move through the dimensions. And believe me, you will be met, depending on how far down the rabbit hole you go and on what your karma is. But eventually you'll be met by your own shadow. And this is actually the greatest gift, right? And shadow now resides in a lot of little nuggets and places. So you might be like, oh, there's another shadow. Oh, and this thing about shadow. Oh, there's a thing about money with shadow. Or I have a shadow thing about money. Or, oh, I have a shadow thing of relationships. Or, oh, I'm greedy. Or, oh, I'm jealous. Or however it might display itself. But ultimately, knowing where our weaknesses are and learning to rewire those in the way that would let us be turned on and not be dampened. Because if you're always jealous, that is suppressing your light. That is, when we have those fear-based limitations in any level, whether it's jealousy or greed or manipulation or, just anything that we're trying to force a will or make something happen on behalf of ourselves outside of a dynamic natural law of cosmic alignment and cosmic justice and the natural proceedings of unity consciousness, right? We're just really sticking it to ourselves. We're just really making more work for ourselves. But sometimes that is the work, right? So that we realize we don't have to keep going down that path. So I feel like I'm going around in circles. I'm not really sure what else I'm supposed to say here. So I'm going to let Spirit have a moment. I feel like we might be done. Let me know if there's anything else I'm supposed to say now, Spirit. Spirit saying everything that needed to be said for now is said. All is perfect. All is well. And that we can close out in the name of love and light. Okay. And so we're going to do it. So we're going to do it. And I thank you again for being here, everyone. Join us as you're guided. And again, I might just be here on YouTube land as a backup if my Insta keeps going kind of cray-cray like that. Monday night, full moon, April 26th, California time, that's Pacific Standard Time, 5:30 to 6, Bija, mantra, chakra, chanting, and from 6 to 7, guided higher self. Meet your higher self meditation, because meeting your higher self is a big part of what I've come into with a lot of my students and clients, where they're like, I don't know what to do. They find themselves in the hell realms, or they find themselves, my parent just died, or in these really big things in life events that are happening for them. And you get discombobulated, right? Maybe you're going good on your spiritual path and you're like, I've got the connection, I've got it. But then you have a parent who dies, but then you go through it. A cycle of your healing comes up and you're back in the hell realms, or you're dealing with this dark addiction or this aspect of self or in others. And so you get to remember, right? You get to remember and you get to work who you would be as your light sight, as your light body, as your higher self, so that you can navigate the way. And this is really important. It's important. It's like it doesn't matter on one hand, but it's important for your peace of life, your peace of mind, your quality of life. But it's also important in the aspect that is the story of, this whole like bumping up into dimensions, and this, moving up into dimensions, and ascension and Gaia. And there's a lot of different stories about, right, this Aquarian age in the world and where we're going, and this healing, this consciousness shift, this global consciousness shift that's happening. And if this is going to happen, what I've been shown is that, like, the way actually that it happens, not if it's going to happen, but the way that it, and it already is happening, by the way. Heaven on earth is already here. It's already here. What they want me to say, though, the process for us each individually is us shining our light, is being turned on, is showing up fully lit, knowing your dark, knowing your light, the practice of integrating both and showing up with all of those aspects turned on in your full light and awareness in your life. When you're turned on and you have that connection to higher self, you are living your purpose. And when you live your purpose, you are lighting up a puzzle piece of heaven on earth for yourself, but also for the greater whole. And it just makes sense, right? This is like we've heard stories about this before in this sort of metaphor, right? That when you light that light, it's lit for everyone. It's lit for everyone. And the good you do, or the light that you light, is going to help others, right? If they're able to receive that light, it's going to perhaps shine a light way for them along their pathway. And not that there's anything to change or fix or anything to do in any different way. I really sincerely feel that everything is perfect. And especially so when you relax into the now. Yet when there's a lot of TikTok matrix stuff, it's got us in a bind, has our head in a spin, right? Then we get to come back. We get to come back into remembering who we are. And the voice of your higher self will always help ground you and root you and guide you along your highest path. And so with all of that said, I thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for hopping on over here. Samantha, Self-Centered Canada on Instagram. Blessings and amen. Yes, so much love and light, family. May this message serve you today. All the best. Oh, and I think next week we're going to do meditation, masturbation as the title of our show next week. So stay tuned. Love and light.